Florida Gators, UCF, Florida rivalry. UCF was favored going into this game. It kept flipping back and forth. KJ Jefferson, former SEC quarterback at Arkansas, in the swamp. Florida kind of came to play. I think the score doesn't even necessarily show that Florida probably could have won by more had they kept their foot on the gas.
Mm-hmm.
But this looks good if you're looking at Florida going forward. I mean, we were questioning a couple weeks ago, is Florida going to win any more? Where is Florida going to win any more games? And they're kind of putting it together a little bit.
Yeah, they've been kind of putting it together here. You know, you get a win against Samford, get a win against Mississippi State. You won the bye week. You beat UCF, and I agree with you. I don't think the score fully indicates the game control. Outside of UCF getting a field goal in the first half, I mean, this was mostly Florida's game. Graham Mertz was having his way. The running game left a little bit more to be desired. But this defense controlled KJ Jefferson. They controlled this rushing game from UCF, which is top 5 in the nation in yards per game. And so that speaks to the defensive improvements. They've taken the tutoring. They're improving. And then offensively, we're seeing kind of what we've been used to seeing in terms of, putting up a couple touchdowns in the game. And so Florida impressed me. They won against a good Power 4 team. And so a lot to build upon there.
Yeah. I mean, UCF coming into this game, number 2 in the country in rushing yards. Per game, that was kind of their whole motto and mantra. And they held them to 108. Yep. And in this game, the key going into it was force KJ Jefferson to throw the ball, get them out of their game. And they did just that, like Colorado did. And it worked out in their favor. They got 5 sacks, a ton of pressure all around. Defensively for Florida, we finally see the D-line starting to fire a little bit against UCF, which whatever, I mean, I want to see it in the SEC. I'm not discrediting anything, but still the defensive line firing, offensive line played great. No sacks on the day. We saw these 2 units struggle against Miami early on and then slow progression to get to where we're at, where they're getting a ton of sacks and they're not letting up any other sacks on the other side of the ball. Maybe this was the game where everything's starting to smooth out and finding some momentum.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. I think this is the game to me that things looked a little bit smoother. They looked to be coming into the team that they are right now. Like, I think they've come a long way from where they were at the beginning of the season, and I think in both of our power rankings, they were second to last or dead last. The 14 spot is not indicative of how impressed I've been by this Florida team the past couple of weeks. I just need to see it against more stiffer competition. But UCF is a quality opponent. The Mississippi State performance in a vacuum against that type of team was impressive. I think they took care of business. They didn't play with their food. And the swamp actually looked intimidating again. Like, it actually looked like it was hard to play in the swamp this past week. KJ Jefferson looked like he did not belong in the SEC, and that's why he wasn't. And for Florida coming up here, you have Tennessee, UK, and then another bye week. How should Florida fans be feeling about Tennessee going to Tennessee with Tennessee coming off a loss?
It's not a fun situation to be in. I think there's no pretty way to paint the picture of what Florida's schedule looks like, other than to say, okay, Florida State isn't that bad anymore, but everything else is kind of rough, and Tennessee is that next test, and they're going to be a tough one to play against. But Nico and the Tennessee team is susceptible to pressure if you can get it. If you can get the same kind of pressure like you had this week, you might have a good shot there. It's one game at a time for this Florida team. And I think one of the keys is maybe playing Lagway a little bit more. So far, no incompletions in his last 2 games, only 11 attempts, but he's completing everything. Getting him more involved in the games will make your other team's film sessions a little bit tougher. Your practice squads are starting to have to show 2 different looks, one representing Mertz, one representing Lagway, and you don't know which one you're going to get on game day. And I think that maybe provides something interesting. Missouri didn't know who they were game planning for, and they looked like they weren't ready for Wegman. They bring out Lagway a little bit more when someone's prepared for Mertz. It could be a flip situation. So I kind of have started to grow to like this 2 quarterback set.
Yeah, they're making it work. And I think it's a really good point when you talk about having a scheme for 2 different quarterbacks, and not many teams have Graham Mertz as their practice dummy in practice. And I know a lot of teams will have DJ Lagway, right? He's 5-star guy. He's looked super impressive these past couple games. and it's starting to give some of these teams offensive mismatches.
Mm-hmm.
Florida's they're just doing enough to win games, but they haven't had to sweat it. That's got to be a good feeling, right? Going from getting blown out to Miami to now you're not sweating these games. It's not like you're in these Auburn type games where you're super close with Oklahoma and you're super close with Cal. It's like these are games that they've been winning definitively. Style points, respect to Florida. Good for Billy Napier.
Yeah.
A lot to build upon offensively. Want to see more from the run game, but a lot to build upon in the passing game and a much improved rush defense and pass defense from what I've seen from Florida. So the schedule, maybe Tennessee might be overlooking them, thinking about Alabama the following week. But it should be a really fun one down there in Knoxville.